limited to Tampa Bay. There we are. Let's start over. Welcome to the IIBA Tampa Bay, Florida Chapter Study Group for February 29th, 2024. This is our 109th class. Today we're going to interview Paula Bell. She is a business analyst, consultant, and coach. She has like 3 podcasts, a blog. She writes for professional organization publications. She is impressive, and I wanted you to know you can do this. So we're going to interview her today. Our mission here at the IIBA Tampa Bay, Florida chapter is to bridge the gap between industry leaders and business analysts by building partnerships with professionals, educators, and employers so that we may empower, instruct, and engage the BA community. We have a worldwide BA community. We have people that belong to our chapter that live all around the world, and we welcome each one of you. Geography doesn't matter as long as we're doing things virtually, and you're welcome to be a member of our chapter. If you're participating here at live, let us know how you found us. And if you found us on YouTube later, contact me by LinkedIn and let us know how you found us and what we can do to help you. We have a variety of ways for you to reach us. This is our normal Thursday night study group from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern. We have LinkedIn Meetup. This is our Zoom link. We have study group materials, including attendance sheet and materials that participants have donated to us of how they were able to pass their certification tests are on that same Google Meetup. I'm sorry, that Google documents. And then we have our meeting recordings. Guys, we have over 100 of our meeting recordings on this, and I'm so proud of the work that we've all done to get there, because it's our conversations that make those meeting recordings valuable, of the practice study questions, why this answer is not the right answer or why this one is a better answer. That is gold. It's so much better than just doing it by yourself. Watermark Learning has been our constant supporter throughout this journey. They have not only given us free access to their practice test questions, but they've also given us a discount code. It is Tampa Space 21, which gives you 20% of all of their products. They have not only business analysis topics, but also project management and a few other things. They have classes, study questions, flashcards, a wide variety of things. Check them out if you're interested. We are a volunteer-led organization. Our leadership here's Cliff, our president. Cliff is right now in London, England, on a well-deserved vacation. Yulia is our vice president of finance. Vivian and Uche and Evelyn, I may be saying that wrong, are our board members at large. Bob is our constant helper that has been here since the very beginning, since before I was here, and he has been running the lunch and learns and study groups for quite a while. You can reach out to any of us on LinkedIn. My name is Thea Soren. I'm the Vice President of Career and Professional Development for the IIBA Tampa Bay chapter. It is my job, again, to help you find what you need. Do reviews, explain things, do whatever I can to help elevate your life so that you can elevate the lives of other people. We are always looking for new board members. If you want to be a board member of our chapter, reach out to me through LinkedIn. We'll have a conversation and see either what you have to contribute that you want to use, a skill that you haven't used in a while or you want to develop, or if you just have, 30 minutes a week that you would like to contribute. We are here to help make other people better, and we're here. And if you can help us do that, it would be great. Our study group advisors, again, Bob Churchill. Bob has a fantastic website. It's rpchurchill.com. It not only has a list of all of these YouTube videos that we've done, but it also has a huge variety of other very valuable information. Yulia is our other CBAP, and Uche is our third CBAP. So them being here means that you get an hour's worth of education credit by participating in our class tonight. We like to celebrate our wins. We have a variety of people that have reached out and said that our study group has contributed to their being able to pass the certification, and we want to celebrate that. So if this is you, tell me and I'll get you on here. We are here to work on your IIBA certifications as well as your advancing in your own career. We typically focus on these 3 certifications. These are the 3 that are focused around the BABOK. After you earn your CBAP, the others are open to you, but we just typically just kind of focus on these 3. Today we're going to hear Paula Bell. Paula is one of my most exciting people that I know, and I'm so excited that she's here. Next week, we have Jennifer Baton. She's going to be talking about design sprints for analysts using design thinking based on the concept that Jake Knapp came up with, but applying it for our job to get everyone on the same page whenever you begin a sprint or a project. After that, we have Robert Snyder going to come in talking about what a people-centric methodology looks like. I know I have too many words on this slide, but this is what he sent me, and I didn't want to edit it without really going through it, and I haven't had time to do that. On the 21st, we have Betsy Stockdale coming in talking about AI and what is it going to mean for the business analyst. Not only things we need to be aware of, but how can we use it? At the end of March, we have an international group of folks from Poland and Ireland and the Philippines and Wales and all over, New Zealand too, going to come together to talk about what is it like to be a business analyst around the world. And of course, with those of you in the United States, us too, what are the common things that we face? What are the common tools that we use? What are tools that they might use that we don't know about that we could possibly benefit from? Maybe we can help somebody with this conversation. And then on April 4th, Leanne is going to talk about her experience passing the CBAP. She just passed it just like a month ago, and she wants to talk about it so that she can tell you what surprised her, things that she feels like you need to know, and that we can all become better for it. So I'm going to turn it over to Paula now, so Paula can tell us about herself, her career, and things that you can do in your own career.
Sure. So let me see if I can share my screen. If I can.
We can see your screen.
All right. So it should say my journey, right? That's what the screen says. All right. So I'm going to walk you through really quickly. Okay, cool. I'm going to walk you through really quickly what my journey has been. And then Thea and I are going to have a little bit of a conversation. And if you have any questions, drop them in the chat or raise your hand. I'm open to any questions that you might have. But my journey started back in the late 90s. I'm not going to tell you exactly when, because then you're probably going to start trying to guess my age. So we're not going to do all that tonight. But my career started in the late 90s. And I actually started in tech. I was a software engineer. I was developing websites, developing applications, and doing all that sort of work because I just swore I was going to come up with the next best computer program or something when I was going through college and doing my internship at college. But that quickly changed because when I left college and I moved from Tulsa, Oklahoma, which I am not from. I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York. But when I moved from Tulsa, Oklahoma to Atlanta, which at that time was the hot spot for tech, one of the hot spots for tech, I went into manufacturing, carpet manufacturing, and I was an integration specialist. What that essentially meant was I did everything nobody else wanted to do. There really wasn't a job title for that. So that's when I was doing stuff like business analysis, project management, technical writing, software development, testing, training, but some of these disciplines were not formally defined. So at the time, I didn't even know I was doing those sort of things, but I was, and getting a lot of exposure and expertise to it. Well, unfortunately, hold on, my thing won't move. Here we go. I then was laid off, and I ended up moving to North Carolina on a contract working for the government. So I worked for the administrative office of the courts. Now, what I didn't mention on here was the first few years doing that, I was a help desk analyst. So I was actually supporting the judges, the district attorneys, the public defenders. So if a computer went down in the middle of a court proceeding, the judges would call us, and we would have to have somebody from tech go out there and fix their issues. And so that's where I was working in the court system. I wasn't in the court system, I was just working in it. So I have to make sure I make that very plain, but I was supporting that group. There was an opportunity that came with B2T, and they came into our organization to provide business analysis training. This is the first time I ever heard of business analysis. I didn't even know what a business analyst was. So They came in and they did this training. Some of us got selected, and I realized that when I did their training and took their certification, that is the first BA certification I received, was through B2T training company. When I took their certification, it consisted of 3 tests, and then you had to do an actual project. The project came second nature to me, where some of my other colleagues were struggling. So I was like, I could do this with my eyes closed. It just made sense to me. And that's when I started to really like business analysis work. And that's actually when I moved into a business analysis role in the government. I ended up having to leave North Carolina for personal reasons. That's a long story in itself. And I ended up moving to Iowa. That's how I got to Iowa. And then I started with Wells Fargo, and I started as a junior BA. But my title really wasn't junior BA. I've never had the official title of business analyst in my whole 20+ year career in project management. You will not see business analyst anywhere as a formal title on my resume. But for the purpose of this, I was a junior BA. I quickly rose to the ranks of a senior BA as I was working on multi-million-dollar projects. And when I say quick, I mean really quick. It was within 6-month time frame that I ended up going to a senior BA position. Stayed in that position for a while. Then I was like, there were changes happening in the organization. We had acquired another bank, and I was like, I want something different. I then moved over into another group within the bank, and I became a business process consultant and a requirements manager. So again, I was still doing business analysis work, and I was managing BA contractors at this time. Then I officially moved into a formal manager role as a business process quality manager, where my focus was really on business process continuous improvement. I really wasn't writing requirements anymore. I was focusing on getting individuals and departments to understand what their processes are and where they need to be improved. And then we would bring in the project team to actually do the project. So I was an entry point, and my team was an entry point into the project. Then I moved into another higher manager role, business initiatives manager, where I was doing a lot more strategy, still doing the business process work, but working on enterprise-wide projects and programs more than anything else. Then I moved into a business support manager where I was operations, a little bit more on the operations side, which is what I wanted, because I didn't want to just be in the business on the outskirts of it, but I really wanted to understand the internals of it. So I went into this position where I was on the operations side of credit card within the bank. Then I moved into a business execution manager, a senior manager, where I was doing a lot more strategy and a lot more helping the enterprise build up the business process, how we go about it, how we make sure that it stays intact, it gets executed, and all of that good stuff. And then I moved into, I left the bank in 2022. I resigned, and I went and worked for an online BA training company where I was the director of operations. So I was totally out of really in the day-to-day writing requirements, but I was still doing business analysis work because I was actually creating processes for the internal operations and things of that nature. It was more strategy and how do we get the product out to the end user, but I wasn't necessarily always the one developing that product that went out into the end user. In addition to that, I've left that company. Now I do consulting on the diversity, equity, inclusion business analysis space for a company called Cultural. And what's interesting is, again, I'm a business consultant, but I'm already doing process flows. I mean, I started that role in October. I'm doing process flows, strategy, helping them look through how they put things together, taking something very complex and making it very simple, still using business analysis techniques, all while I am the CEO of my own company. And I've been the CEO of my own company since 2001. And so my company has morphed into a lot of different things, like you heard Thea talk about. But the interesting thing is I make mind maps all the time. I'm doing process flows all the time. I'm doing my own requirements, trying to figure out what I need to deliver to the customer all the time. I'm communicating that to other people who I might be working with so that they can help me build out my business and deliver services to the client. but I'm also coaching business analysts. So the thing that makes it unique is if a business analyst comes to me for their resume review, or I need prepping for an interview, that's second nature to me because I used to hire business analysts. I was a business analyst. I worked in business analysis. That's my background. But I'm also broader than that, where I look at you as an individual as well and figure out where are you really going? What's really your trajectory? Where is this taking you? What's happening in your future? So I've used business analysis since I started as a software engineer in the late 90s. I haven't stopped using it since. I plan events as well. I plan weddings. I direct weddings. I plan conferences. I do all that stuff. And I use business analysis and project management all the time. So to me, I always say the sky's the limit. Business analysis can take you in so many different directions. You just got to figure out what direction you want to go in. But does anybody have any questions on that so far?
Can you tell us a little bit more about your business, your organization?
Sure. So my business is Mind, Body, and Soul. So this is another thing. Being a business owner is very interesting, right? So you learn this concept in business analysis and project management. Fail, you better fail fast. That's what you do as an entrepreneur. You keep trying and trying and trying. So when my business started, it started as a wedding directing, wedding planning, desktop publishing company because I came from tech. So I knew tech. I could build websites. I could make invitations. I could do all that stuff really easy. In 2014, I rebranded my business. And I rebranded it because I'm also a third-degree black belt in karate. And I was thinking one day, I couldn't sleep one night. And it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm taking a shower because I worked out because I couldn't sleep. And I'm here and I'm thinking in my mind, how could I morph two things that I love together? Because the concepts that I learned from karate helped mold me as a person to navigate all the different things that I navigated in my career. So that's when I became the BA martial artist. And I have to give a shout out. I always do this. I have to give a shout out to Adrian Reed in the UK because I pitched this thing to him at BBC and he said, let's try it at a UK chapter meeting virtually. Let's try your concept. Let's see how people will respond to it. And there was a good response to it. And so I went forward and I did that. So in 2020, when the pandemic hit, I started to really think about, you had to be inside your house. So I started to really think about what is really my purpose? Like, what am I supposed to be doing here on this earth? And so it came to mind, body, and soul. It was sort of like, you need to morph all these things together because what I was realizing is as I was coaching business analysts, the reason they were lacking confidence was because of other areas in their life that they hadn't dealt with. And so I ended up being a life coach at that point, right? So I look at you as the whole person, not just at that specific goal you have. So I rebranded my whole business in 2020 to where it's all about mind, body, and soul. So I'm a master life coach. I'm a life purpose coach, a goal success coach, and I'm certified in all of these. A professional coach, a fitness coach. I also do business analysis coaching, project management coaching, leadership coaching, DEI coaching. So when you come to me, it's a one-stop shop. You might start with me in the business analysis field, but if I find that you have limiting beliefs or you're self-sabotaging, I'm going to step back a minute and I'm going to have you reevaluate that because that's probably the thing that's holding you back from doing your optimal work as a business analyst. So let's address this, but you don't have to go somewhere else to get it because I have that credential and I just help you through that. So I look at you as a whole person, not just at the area that you're coming to me for.
Paula, where do you go to get certified as a life coach and a business coach and things like that?
So, in 2020, there was a lot of coaching and certifications that were actually discounted because nobody could go anywhere. So there was a lot of things that were discounted. You can go to, I have not done this. You can go, there's an international coaching federation. It's very expensive to do it. I didn't go that route. And the reason I didn't go that route is because coaching isn't really regulated. It's not one of those disciplines that's regulated. I actually got all of my certifications going through it was a full year, and I still got one more thing I have to do, but a full year of coaching through Transformation Academy. And it was online, self-paced sort of thing. but that's what I did in 2020. I knew I wanted to bring more skill to the clients that I serve. So I took the time while the world was at a standstill to just take time to do as much education as I could. So I just invested a lot of time and resources in that.
Very cool. Well, one of the things I wanted to ask you, Paula, is something we started talking about before this class,
Right.
situations that people might bring to you. And the situation I want to bring to you is, what do you do as a female in whatever situation, or a younger person, that whenever you are supposed to give instruction to a person and they say, I'm not going to listen to you because either you're not old enough, you're not male, you're not of my race, my whatever. How do you handle that?
So there you go, conflict. That's conflict, right? And you can't avoid it. And so in every area that I've been in my journey, I've had conflict of some sort, right? I've actually had this happen to me as well. And we were having great conversation before the call. And there are a lot of dynamics at play here. I would first try to understand why the person doesn't want to take direction from me. Does the person not want to take direction from me, just like Vivian said, because it's a cultural dynamic? There's a certain hierarchy that's supposed to happen, and I'm not used to this sort of hierarchy because you're not in it, sort of thing, right? So I just don't think that that's something I can do. It could be a cultural thing. Some of it's mindset. Some people just don't think, if you're younger than me, you can't tell me what to do. I'm older than you. I have all the wisdom. What do you know, right? Big myth, big misconception. That's some of it's mindset. Some of it could be, I just don't feel that women should even be in management positions or in leadership positions. This is a man's world, sort of thing. Some people might still think like that. It's mindset. But the first thing I try and understand is, why do you feel that way in the first place? What is it? What is it about me that makes you feel that I am not credible enough to give you direction? Because this is my role. So I was hired into this role. I was put into this role for a reason. Why are you having challenges with that? If it ends up being something that's cultural, you have to take a moment, and I think you got to take a beat and step back, and you have to understand that person's culture and their beliefs and their norms. Listen, actively listen to what they have to say. Don't get on the defensive. Yeah, you brought up a good point. Get emotion out of this. Don't have emotion in it. You might be emotional at first, and if you are, don't have the conversation. Make sure you can take that emotion out of it to have the conversation. Some of it might be, it's just a cultural dynamic that you have to work with the other person through to help them understand where you're coming from. You understand where they're coming from, but at the end of the day, you both have a job to do. You've been assigned this position. This is how it needs to go forward. If it's a mindset thing, though, where an individual just doesn't feel as a woman you should be in control or in charge, there are a couple of ways you can handle that. Again, I would still do active listening and listen to what the person has to say. But at the end of the day, if the hierarchy and the authority I have for you to take direction from me, you have one or two choices. You're either going to take the direction or you're not. And if you're not, I'm just going to escalate it. And I'm just going to keep it moving. I don't like having to do things like that. But if I have a job to do and you're hindering me from doing my job, I'm going to escalate it. I could also take another approach, which I've done in the past. And if I know there's somebody that you're really close to that has a level of influence over you, get that person to be an advocate with me and an ally for me. Have a conversation with that person and say, you know, I'm really trying to work with this individual. I know you two are really close friends. I respect you. You respect me. I just want to work with this person. And this is the challenge I'm running into. Any ideas on what I can do differently? Any ideas of how we can approach this so that we can get the work done, right? It's going to take some work. It's not always going to be easy. But if you keep running into a wall, I'm all about escalate, because I personally don't have the energy to give to that. We're not going to get anything done. Will they get upset? Probably, but you've done your due diligence. So there's nothing more that you can do. But if it's the cultural side, you got to, from what I've learned from a cultural side, one thing I didn't mention, my family's from Barbados. See, we got somebody from Kingston, Jamaica on here. Jamaica, my rival, but I still love you. But me from Barbados, no, all of us in the Caribbean love each other, I hope. But it's you have to take a minute to understand the culture, because they may not be defiant on purpose. It's just their culture is different. And you're going to have to work through that a little bit as much as you can, and give them some grace and give them a chance.
Well, I will tell you a story. I remember whenever I very first started my very first corporate job, I thought I was supposed to look a certain way, and they gave me a headset to wear, and I remember actually saying, I can't wear this, it'll mess up my hair. And I look back at that going, I was so ignorant, but I just didn't have the knowledge to know what I was supposed to do. I thought I had this idea of what I was supposed to do, but it wasn't reality. It was what I had been taught or what I had assumed. And now whenever I hear other people say things that I kind of go, what did you just say? I go, oh yeah, I said a really dumb thing one time too. So, we all can get better.
Nothing wrong with some grace.
I know grace is a very good thing. Paula, whenever you work on what your next podcast topics are going to be and things like that, your next topics that you're going to write about, how do you find your topics? How do you decide what is going to have value to other people? Because that's something I struggle with here. I want to bring value here, and some of these folks also have people that they work with. They want to bring value to them as well. How do you figure what you're going to spend your time on?
Sure. So I actually strategize. The last 2 weeks of the year, I take off. I don't work for anybody. I don't work for myself. I don't work for any company. I typically go off the grid the last 2 weeks of the year. The reason I do that is because that's time for me to do deep self-reflection, introspection, and goal setting. And so I do mind mapping when I set up my goals. And what I look at, there are a couple of things I take into consideration. One thing is, are there certain topics or events that go on during that month that would be a great support? So, for example, with March being Women's History Month, I'm probably going to try and do something that amplifies women as much as possible, as a way to give women a platform to talk about topics that we want to talk about. So I look at what some of those signature events, signature things that happen each month. Sometimes I have a podcast and it's the guests who give me my next topic, because we have such a great conversation that I'm like, we need to go deeper. And then we start to strategize on when does it make sense to go deeper on this topic. And so sometimes the guests help me figure it out. Sometimes I also go by what's trending. So if I see there's certain topics that are real hot topics, I think about, okay, I think this is a topic that we should bring in and have a discussion on, differing views and perspectives on the podcast. So sometimes I just look at the events, and then sometimes I just take surveys. I just do polls. What do you as my audience want to hear? What's some of those hot topics? What are some of those things that you want to discuss? Unfortunately, my mailing list, though, they'll be so quiet. I'm like, y'all have got to have something. It's like if I reach out to them one-on-one, I'll get information. But if I send a blast or a poll, it's like crickets. So sometimes I reach out to certain people to see if there's certain topics that are hitting. But I actually plan it in December, and then I change it. It changes, because I'll be like, oh, that's a great topic, but then something huge happens, and I might shift my schedule around. But that's typically how I come up with my different topics.
Well, I know the topic that you and I talked about whenever I was a guest, it just came out of a conversation that we were having. And it was just, I'm passionate about this. And so you said, hey, why don't you come on and let's talk about it? But I can see that figuring out what people are interested in is important. But folks, this is a lesson to you. If you want to influence, all you have to do is speak up. It is not hard. So speak up and tell people, I'd like to hear more about this, and you will probably find that they will respond to you. You have power that you didn't know about.
I 100% agree. Some of my best articles came out with people bringing a topic or asking me to write on a topic. Or, again, to your point, I love having people on my podcast. You do not have to have any certain criteria, title, status to be on my podcast. is, oh, you want to talk about that? Well, let's talk about it. And I don't have any problem with that. I don't care where in the world you are. You know, if there's a topic that you want to bring out there that you want to talk, and the topic can be controversial. It doesn't have to be. I'm not always going to agree with everything my guests say, but there's nothing wrong with that. We don't have to be in agreement the whole time on the podcast either. It's just different perspectives. As long as we respect each other, I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. So I 100% agree. Yeah, reach out, say what you want, put it out there, especially if you were asking for it. Let us know, because you don't know what opportunities that will open up for you.
It's true. It's true. Paula, can you give us a sampling of your website and things like that so people can check it out and follow you and whatever?
Yeah, so my website is paulaabell.com. That's 2 A's in the middle. If you forget the A, you will not go to my website. I don't know where you're going to go, but it's not going to be to me. So paulaabell.com. I am on almost every social media platform. You can follow me as the BA Martial Artist. I try and keep it consistent for the business analysis stuff. So BA Martial Artist on Instagram. You can find me on YouTube as the BA Martial Artist. I'm definitely on LinkedIn as Paula Bell. If you want to see what I do from a fitness perspective, I'm also known as Ninja P. So if you look up Ninja P Fitness on Instagram, if you look that up on Facebook, on TikTok, that's what you'll find. It's still me. It's just that my brand on the fitness side is Ninja P. And so I'm all over social.
Okay, thank you. Andrea, you got a question for Paula?
Yeah, sorry. So coming back to the story that you told us about your journey, I really felt what's the word? I really sympathized or felt like you were describing some situation that happened to me where I have done all of these different roles in the last 12 years. And I felt like I did business analyst, or I was a business analyst in every almost single one of them, but never had it until now, the title and the recognition. I know that sometimes it's just a label, but what do you think about that, especially being a coach and being a coach or business analyst? What are your thoughts about that? Is it something that is empowering, or is it something like this is kind of my also what you were saying, my feeling of being like, oh, well, I'm actually not really a business analyst, or I'm starting to be a business analyst, but you feel like, well, I've been doing it for 12 years, but it's like the imposter's kind of syndrome. So I'm interested to hear what you think about those things.
Yeah, it's not imposter syndrome. I could care less what my title is, honestly. I proved that I can do business analysis work, and that's what I tell people. It's not about the title, it's about the role, and that you can actually apply the concepts and get known for that. So what I tell my clients with resumes, even if you didn't have the formal title of business analyst, let's say your title for me, let's say it was something like business systems consultant. I'm going to put in parentheses business analyst, because that's what I did. It's just the company didn't acknowledge that title as business analyst, right? But if you look at all the bullet points, it's everything a BA would do. So it's not that you're misrepresenting yourself or it's false advertising. It's just a simple fact the company did not have a business analyst role for you. And so I don't think it does a disservice, but you also have to understand, I also came into business analysis before the IIBA even existed. So the business analysis is still not, I don't think, as well renowned as project management, right? So if you hear project management, you're just like, oh, project manager. The thing that makes business analysts interesting is that people still don't understand what a business analyst does. And I can tell that by the job descriptions that clients bring to me on what they're looking for, because they're looking for this mesh of a business analyst and a technology person, right? And it's very confusing. And so I don't think it's a disservice. I just think it's how you market yourself and how you sell yourself. And so if you know that you know how to do business analysis work, and you can prove that on your resume, and you can demonstrate that you understand the aspects of business analysis, even if you didn't have the title, you can still put it in parentheses and demonstrate that you've done business analysis work. So I don't think it's a disservice. I just think it's a domain that people are still trying to figure out, and most companies, if they know anything about business analysis, knows that they're still trying to be figured out. And so to me, it's more of, did you market yourself well enough on that resume to demonstrate that you know business analysis? Do you market yourself well enough in that interview to demonstrate that you can go in there and rock it out as a BA? And that's just how I look at it. That's always my focus. A lot of the clients that I work with are not BAs. They're actually entering into the BA world. I worked with somebody who was in marketing, and I was looking at her resume. If you would have looked at her resume when she first gave it to me, it was straight marketing. By the time I was done with that thing, I was like, do you understand? You probably done more business analysis work than some business analysts, but you would never know that because you never called it out. You stuck with just what you did as a marketing person instead of switching your mindset to, how does this translate to what a BA does, and helping you work through that. And that's really so that's why I tell people, don't worry so much about the title. Give me the role. What were you doing? Because we can market it right. We just have to market it that way. So don't think of it as a disservice or you're lying or you're falsifying or self-sabotage if you know you can do business analysis work.
Right. Hey, Paula, I've talked to a couple of people from around the world this week, and one of the questions that they keep asking me is, how can I show my value as a business analyst? And I'm giving them two answers, and then I want to hear yours. The first answer is, I put a post on LinkedIn about a week ago of ways that you can show your value, and it's got a list of about 12 things, things like reducing cycle time and things like that. It's hard to quantify, but you can quantify it in some way. The second way was, take this list to your boss, the person that does your evaluation, and ask them, of this list of 12 things, what are your top 5 that you think have value? Because that's going to show you the way they communicate, their values, their motives, their goals, everything that will help you speak to them in their language and do the things that they feel are valuable. What do you think we ought to do as business analysts to show our value, to be able to, say on our resume, we did something that we could put numbers to maybe?
So I did a whole video on this on my, and I wrote an article on this. Yeah, the article's on LinkedIn, the video's on LinkedIn too, the video's on YouTube, but I did a whole video about this. I did a 5-part series last year on just business analysis, and I think it was maybe part 3. It was either part 3 or part 4. It was all about value and how do you demonstrate value. So here's the thing. Value is more than just the technical aspects of business analysis. And I think some people don't give themselves enough credit for all the other things that they do to be an effective and phenomenal BA. So to me, building relationships, collaboration, teamwork, conflict, all of that is part of business analysis, right? Because you're going to deal with all of that in business analysis. And then you have techniques that you need to apply as you're doing things. So when I talk about the value that I bring as a BA, the number one thing I say is, I'm going to be able to help you solve your problem. Because at the end of the day, that's what the issue is. You have a problem and you need somebody to help you solve it. Now, I might use a million different techniques to do that because it depends on the problem. But I'm going to help you define that problem. I'm going to help you break that problem down from complex to simple. We're going to figure out what we need to do. We're going to have a plan. We're going to document that plan. We're going to share that plan. We're going to communicate it. And then we're going to execute it. Execution is not always a technology project. I've worked on many non-tech projects. It could be straight data because you're acquiring another company. It could be straight process because you're doing continuous improvement. But at the end of the day, my value is I have the skill to be able to help you solve your problem. Now, there's many different ways I can do that. But we're going to sit down, we're going to work together. I'm going to plan with you. I'm going to figure out what is the correct approach to take to be able to solve this problem. I'm going to get that information from you. I'm going to put it in some nice, beautiful package or documentation or whatever the process is that we use, because it depends on the methodology you choose, depending on what you're going to do. Put it wherever it needs to go, and we're going to execute and solve this problem. And then I'm even going to go one step further. I'm actually going to make sure that the solution that's been put in place actually works over time. So I'm not just going to leave you when I'm done with it. I might come back in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days and see if this is working as intended. And if not, I'm going to have a change management process that's going to allow us to make changes and to enhance it. To me, the thing that messes people up, I personally think, with business analysis, and I am actually going to do a video on this one too and write something on this because it's been bothering me. We have made business analysis so complex, and it doesn't have to be. The fundamentals of business analysis has not changed. It hasn't. The tools, the methodologies, the techniques you use have been enhanced. There's many different ways to do it, but the fundamentals of it haven't changed. I have not changed the way I think as a BA from the late 90s to now. I just use different tools, different techniques, because my experience has given me that knowledge to know, you know what, I tried this before in this particular approach and it worked, but this one has. So your experience is going to lend to that, but the way you think doesn't change. And I think a lot of BAs get caught up in, oh, I got to know Agile. I got to know Salesforce. I got to know SQL. I got to know this. I don't know where to start. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. What technology should I know? What methodology should I study? What certifications can I get? Okay, can we stop a minute and time out? Can you even think like a BA? Because you can't think like a BA, this is going to be tough. All right, do you know what a BA does, right? Just step back a minute, just take a beat. Woosah, calm down. Let's just talk about what you want to do, because there's a ton of information out there. And so let's just talk a minute about what you want to do, and let's figure out where we need to get you to. Let's take it in chunks here. You know, don't try and boil the ocean. And so that's, for me, that's what I talk about. I'm just here to help you solve a problem. And we're going to figure out how we're going to solve it. That's just how I do it. Now, y'all ain't going to stress me out and have my blood pressure up. That is what you're not going to do. That's how I feel about it right now.
Okay, I want to say that I am so glad that we recorded this conversation, because I want to take a transcript of what you just said, of what I will do as a BA, and have everyone memorize it, because we have to say this to them over and over. And if you've never heard anybody say this, this is a great way. Paula just said is a great way to say, this is what I'm going to do as a BA, and this is why you need me.
Exactly. Keep it simple. Because I think a lot of people might think that they have to spew out all this terminology and buzzwords. I'm going to read through all of that. Do you really know how to do BA work? Because if you can't logically tell me how you think as a BA, my eyebrows going to raise. And I've done lots of BA interviews. I've had to hire BAs and all, and I read through all of that. So
very cool. Yeah. So what do you think the strongest things are about? I mean, what are the strongest characteristics about being a BA? What does a BA really have to have?
Confidence. You have to be confident in yourself. You have to have confidence. You have to know your craft. And I think that's the biggest thing. You have to know your craft. But I'll go one step further. Because business analysis works in every single industry that I know of, you have to figure out where you want to go. Where do you want to fit as a BA? What type of BA do you actually want to be? I like to just be a generalist. I like to just go in anywhere, because I used to be a consultant, just go in anywhere and just do business analysis work. Give me your problem, let's work through it. Some people don't like that. Some people like the technical side, which is kind of interesting. A technical BA, I've always had an issue with that title, but some people like that side. It just doesn't work for me. Some people like that side of it. Some people want to be in a specific, supporting a specific tool. So you have people who want to do Salesforce. You just got to figure out what you want to do, right? And then at the end of the day, I've always said that 80% of what I do is interpersonal, 20% is technique. Again, if I can't get people to work with me, if I can't get people to collaborate with me, if I can't get people to talk to me, if people can't stand working with me, I'm really not going to get as far as I probably could in my business analysis work. So for me, the first thing is just building relationships and just understanding who I'm working with and how they work. And once I figure that part out, then I can figure out how I'm going to navigate the BA work. Because you have some people who like communication a certain way. Mm-hmm. Their work style is a certain way. I want to find all that out up front. What are your pet peeves? What do you not like? What do you like? When do you not like meetings? When do you like meetings? What have been some of the challenges you've had working with a business analyst before? Why are you scared to have a BA on your project? Are you scared that you're potentially going to lose your job because of the project that I'm putting in? I mean, let's have the authentic conversation. Tell me how you feel, because that's the only way I'm going to be able to collaborate with you and work with you, because I'm actually going to listen to what you say, and I'm going to be truthful with you. Is there a possibility that you could lose this particular role? Yes. However, this is going to open you up to do other things, because now we're taking some of this stuff off of your plate so that you can do some of the work that you love. You know, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. I want to be very authentic with you so that you trust me.
Yeah.
And I think that is the number one biggest thing. Your stakeholders have to trust you. If they don't trust you, some of them are going to hold back information on purpose. I've watched it. I've seen this happen. Some people will massage information. I've watched it. I've seen it happen.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm all about, tell me what's going on. Let's just have a true conversation.
Very true.
And I think that's for me. It's just really those authentic conversations to build that trust. My work is going to speak for itself because I'm confident in it. I don't need to spew my expertise to you. I already have the job. I don't have to prove anything to you from that standpoint. Off the verbal, my work will be enough for me.
Right.
And so that's how I look at it. It's my work, that's going to do that for me. And so I don't need to sit up here and say, I've got 20 plus years in business analysis. I've worked on $1 million projects. I've done all this great work. I've been at the executive level in a Fortune 500 company. I don't need to say any of that. I just want to get to know what you need, so that you can build trust with me, so that we can work together and fix problems.
Awesome.
That's really what I want to do.
Awesome. Do we have any questions? I'm looking at the chat. I'm not seeing any questions yet. Did we have any hands to raise? Or...
Yeah, Jim has his hand raised. He's actually had his hand raised for a while.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Jim. My meeting is being recorded, is covering all the hand raises. So go ahead, Jim.
Not at all. Hi, Paula. You are just an absolute inspiration. And I want to find out, one question from you would be, who are your heroes? Who do you follow? What authors do you read? How do you get your focus and inspiration and your direction?
So I don't do a ton of reading because I'm creating so much content for my own business, right? So I don't do a ton of reading, but I do listen to a lot of motivational videos. So and it could be something that I just listen to on YouTube or what have you. I listen to a lot of different motivational videos. John C. Maxwell is one of the people that I follow. I love the things that he does from a leadership perspective. I've always followed him. Gosh, I followed him throughout my entire career, but he's somebody that I follow. Tony Robbins is somebody else that I follow for just a motivational perspective. If I have to go back though, from even my childhood, where I get a lot of my motivation from is from my grandmother and how hard she worked and the work ethic that she had. But I also grew up in the church. So I'm very heavy faith-based, and that keeps me grounded and keeps me motivated. And when I'm having challenges, because I do, it helps me to get through those challenges. I also follow from a BA perspective. I would have to say the two people who really got me confident in business analysis was actually Bob Prentice and Roxanne Miller. They were the first two people to give me a chance as a speaker, and I will always pay honor to them for that. So those are two people that I will always say was great to me. Adrian Reed, I definitely follow him. I follow Joe Newbert. Some of the speakers actually that you have coming up, we are friends. We've been in the same speaker circuit for years, like Jennifer Batten. I've been with her for like years because, she's really was really close to Bob Prentice. Seneca Waugh out here in Iowa is another person that always had confidence in me and built me up in the BA space. I'm quite sure you're probably familiar with Kent McDonald and Ellen Gotzendiner. Those are two other individuals that I've collaborated with and talked to and had conversations with. So there's so many that I probably haven't even called that I get motivation and inspiration from. I watch a lot of people on LinkedIn, but I'm also going to tell you what gives me a lot of motivation is watching the new generation of thought leaders in business analysis coming up. Because we're going to fade out at some point. We've been doing this for so long, right? But it's watching this newer generation of thought leaders coming up with all different sorts of ideas and concepts and making you think a little bit differently and having nice spirited debate and things like that, that keeps me motivated and keeps me on top. So I would have to say, off the top of my head, I'm quite sure there's more, but off the top of my head, that's how I stay motivated. I collaborate a lot, so that's typically how I stay motivated. And I work heavily with the youth. So that's one thing I didn't mention as well. I work heavily with the youth here in Iowa. So they motivate me quite a bit just to see the things that they're doing and giving me hope on the greatness that's going to come out of that generation.
Very nice. What other questions do we have? I'm sorry, Jim, did you have more that you wanted to ask? Okay. Any other questions? Well, I want to give a shout out to a few people. Alberto has joined us from Nigeria. It's middle of the night there. He's got to get up in like 4 hours. So Alberto, thank you so much for giving us your time. I'm sure that you found great value in this. And Paula, again, I'm so glad we recorded this. This is going to be good for people forever now. And you're so good for us. So if you will send me a list of your podcasts coming up, I'll be glad to go ahead and publicize those on LinkedIn as well, and your articles and things like that. I generally repost most of your articles that you put on LinkedIn to start with, but I'm happy to promote the things that you do because you do good for us all.
Thank you. And if anybody on this call wants to be on my podcast, let me know.
Yeah.
It's open. I'll talk about every and anything. So it's open. If we want to talk about challenges, if we want to talk about a certain technique, if we want to talk about a certain topic, just reach out to me and say, I want to be a guest on your podcast, and let's make it happen.
Yeah.
I have no problem with that.
One thing I'd like to propose, and Jim, this is for you to hear. I have a few people that are business analysts for hospitals. And I bet you they are encountering some of the same technical issues, some of the same technology things that they need to overcome. I think they would benefit from having a conversation together. I don't know that it's necessarily a podcast thing, but maybe it is. So if we can do a podcast series based upon industry, BAs that are in insurance, BAs that are in IT for hospitals, very, very different regulations that are having to be dealt with, or in banking. Oh my goodness. But they might be able to benefit from talking about, this is something we overcame with, and this is the tool we used, and this is what didn't work for us. I think that would be a very interesting one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like a community of practice meeting every so often where we just get together and think tank on business analysis in healthcare. What are you facing? What challenges are you facing?
Right.
They're unique with from organization to organization.
Right. Jim, I introduced you to someone on LinkedIn. Why don't we get that together and get it started?
Yeah, yes.
Maybe,
Christian reached out, and I will definitely make
good.
that connection. Thank you.
Good. I think we can all do good together. Let's just figure out what good needs to be done next and get it done. Well, thank you all very much for joining us. You already know who's going to be here next week. We're going to continue our professional series for a few more weeks, and then probably at the end of March, 1st of April, we're going to switch. I'm sorry, 1st of May, we're going to switch over to go through our study group. And this is going through the BABOK, going through practice test questions. But in the past, we've done this where we went through each chapter for 2 weeks and went through practice test questions. This year, we're going to do it a little differently because we have at least 4 weeks of practice test question hours on YouTube ready for you to go through. So if you go through this chapter and go through those 4 weeks and then come to our 1 hour of practice test questions together, you're going to be so much better than if you were just coming in cold. So we're going to do it that way. It's going to be a lot more intensive, but it's going to be a lot more productive and beneficial to you. It's going to require time on your part, but it required time on your part before. This is just a more structured way to get it done and get you exposure to a lot of different conversations very quickly. We're going to go through it 1 week at a time, 1 chapter at a time, and just move on from there. So plan on joining us then. If you know anyone who's practicing for any of their 3 certifications for the BABOK, have them be aware that that's what we're going to be doing, and I'll be glad to give them instruction or assistance in whatever they need. Have them contact me through LinkedIn, and I will see y'all next week. Thank you. Bye, guys.
Thank you.